Greetings, everybody. My name is Tom, and what's your name, Stephanie?
Well, I think you do know what it is, Tom. You just said it. It's Stephanie.
That's it. I guess I would need to ask your name if I already knew it. But in any case, that's who we are, and there are too many of you for us to find out exactly what your names are. But in any case, sometimes during the day, you might have a little inkling for something sweet. You might have a sweet tooth, for example. Between meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you might actually want to pop down to the local candy store and get yourself a lollipop.
I love lollipops.
Me too.
In fact, I buy them quite frequently.
You do,
Not
really?
for myself. There's some kids at church. I like to give them lollipops. But now there is a gourmet lollipop in my neighborhood supermarket.
Really?
Yeah, it costs quite a bit. It's like $39 NT.
For one?
Yeah, but they're really, really good. Lots of different flavors. Love lollipops.
Okay, so there's still a market for lollipops.
Yeah.
That is a kind of candy. Basically, it's candy on a stick, which makes it very convenient. You can lick it, and if you don't want to finish it, I guess you can wrap paper around it and suck on it later.
Yeah, you can.
You certainly can, but we certainly are talking about the luscious world of lollipops in today's lesson on history. So, hey, let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson right now. Kids run into a candy shop eager to spend their allowance on some sweet treats. Some get chocolate bars, while others get fruit jellies. Some, however, prefer sucking on lollipops to getting bits of chewy candy stuck in their teeth. Besides, lollipops come in so many colors, shapes, and flavors that kids are sure to find something new every time. The earliest versions of lollipops were invented when primitive humans thrust sticks into beehives and licked off the honey. In ancient times, the Chinese, Arabs, and Egyptians used honey to preserve fruits and nuts, and then ate these candied preparations with the aid of sticks. It was not until sugar became readily available that more modern lollipops began to appear, though. Candy makers in 17th century Britain put softer sweets on sticks and called them lollipops. The name came from the dialect of northern England, where lolly meant tongue and pop meant slap. In the early 20th century, machines for making lollipops were invented. George Smith, an American manufacturer, trademarked the name lollipop, naming his candies after his favorite racehorse. One of the most famous names in lollipops is Chupa Chups, a Spanish brand. In Spanish, chupar means to suck. Since the company got off the ground in 1958, many famous names have been associated with the brand. One was artist Salvador Dali, who designed their brightly colored daisy-shaped logo. Dali also insisted on placing the logo at the top of the lollipop so it would attract more attention. Another was Madonna, who advertised the lollipops. Chupa Chups has always promoted anti-smoking, with its current slogan being, "Stop smoking, start sucking." So long as lollipops continue to catch the eye and delight the tongue, they'll certainly remain many people's favorite candies.
Okay, folks, let's start with the title here, The Luscious World of Lollipops. If something's luscious, we use it a lot to describe some sort of food, usually dessert type of food, a sweet food that's sweet and rich. When chocolate is melted, I like to talk about luscious chocolate. And sometimes we use it to talk about a woman who's really sexy. I even use it for a guy sometimes just as kind of a fun thing to say, ooh, he's luscious. But typically, it's a word, an adjective we use to describe something that has a really pleasant, rich, sweet taste, yummy stuff.
Exactly. So that's the title here. We're talking about the luscious world of lollipops, or bang bang tang, as you call it in Chinese. Now, kids, this is a possible situation. Kids or children run into a candy shop and they are eager to spend their allowance on some sweet treats. Now, remember, kids haven't started working yet. They haven't started making their own money, and they're not supposed to. So a lot of times parents give them an allowance. allowance, which is money usually parents give their kids, like maybe once a week or something, give them 100 NT every week or something like that. So they have a little bit of spending money, and kids oftentimes spend that money on candy.
Do you give your daughter an allowance, Tom?
I certainly do. She hasn't started to work yet, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, I got an allowance. It was usually enough money to pay for my meals at school because we have to pay for our lunches at school. And then a little extra, and if I did extra chores, work around the house, I'd get some more. So it's fun to have an allowance that you can spend on sweet treats. Some kids like chocolate bars. Chocolate's really a big favorite when you want to buy candy. And other kids, they like the fruit jellies. We have those here too. Some, however, prefer sucking on lollipops to getting bits of chewy candy stuck in their teeth. You can prefer something to something else, which means you like the one thing better than the second thing that follows. So kids, of course, some of them, of course, prefer to suck on lollipops because some of the candy that you buy gets stuck in your teeth. That's kind of irritating if you're not home and you're close to your toothbrush.
It can happen, although sometimes the sticky candy or the hard candy, if you lick it and you get it between your teeth somehow, it will actually stick. And I'm always afraid that that will stick onto my fillings and pull them out, and I'll have to go see the doctor or something like that.
The dentist.
Yeah, the dentist, exactly, yes. I could see the doctor, too, if it got really serious. But in any case here, yes, these are kind of the basic choices that kids have, either hard candy or soft, chewy candy. And, of course, the chewy kind can get stuck in your teeth. Chewy just means you can chew on it with your teeth and it won't break and won't crack and stuff like that. There are lots of chewy kinds of snacks that you can get in the night market, for example. Well, besides, or in addition, lollipops come in so many colors, shapes, and flavors that kids are sure to find something new every time. So here we have the verb phrase to come in. Hey, knock on the door. Yes, come in, please. Welcome. Come on in. Have a seat. Sit down. That's one meaning. But here, come in means it is offering a certain variety of those things. If you want to buy a new car, for example, the salesperson will say, well, the car comes in blue, white, and black, and gray. Which one do you want?
Now, let's go down to the second paragraph. It says the earliest versions. These are the first lollipops that were invented. They happened when primitive humans, people a long time ago, before history started to be written down. These humans were primitive humans. Now, when you talk about a version of something, you talk about a specific form of something. We're all familiar with software. Software gets updated frequently, and so you'll have a new version that comes out that you'll want to put on your computer or maybe on your smartphone. Well, they had different versions of lollipops long ago. The first ones that were around were invented because these people long ago discovered that bees had something called beehives where they made their honey, which was sweet. So they would take a stick and thrust it into the beehive, and then they'd lick off that stick. I hope the stick wasn't too dirty. Now, if you thrust, it means you push or do something quite suddenly or violently even, sometimes in a certain direction. Sometimes we'll use it to say, oh, he thrust his hands into his pockets. Sometimes it's used more literally, which means you actually use a hand or some sort of tool to push forward. But sometimes it's figurative. Maybe something happened to you and you're famous because you were in the news and you're thrust into the spotlight because of something that happened to you. That's a figurative use of that word.
That's right. And, of course, a beehive is a place where bees live. And they knew there was honey in there, so they would take a stick and stick it in there and then lick the stick. Of course, they probably didn't want to get stung by those nasty bees. That's probably why they used a stick, a long stick.
A very long stick, yeah.
To stay away from those bees. And, of course, we have to go back into ancient history. In ancient times, the Chinese, Arabs, and the Egyptians all used honey to preserve fruits and nuts. These are some of the ancient civilizations of the world, the Chinese, the Arabs, and the Egyptians. They actually had a use for honey, which is that sweet thing that bees produce. They would use it to preserve fruits and nuts. I guess you just cover the fruits and the nuts, like mijian, I guess, is kind of what that is. And they would also eat these candied preparations with the aid of sticks. If something's candied, that means it has a coat of something sweet on it. Oftentimes in the night market, you can buy candied tomatoes, those little tomatoes that have a coating of sugar on those. Those would be candied tomatoes.
Oh, I haven't had those yet. That's interesting. A preparation is just simply a word for something that you must prepare. So this is a kind of food that is prepared. This is candy, of course. And a lot of times when you're watching those cooking shows that are out there, I love cooking shows. I was just watching them this morning. Oh, you do not. Shut up. So anyway, if you're watching those, they'll sometimes candy certain ingredients, makes them cool. So these are preparations that were made with the aid of sticks. It was not until sugar became readily available or easy to buy, easy to get your hands on, that more modern lollipops began to appear, though. It's kind of hard to imagine, but long ago in history, only the rich people could get sugar.
Really?
Yeah,
we can get sugar everywhere now. In fact, it's really hard to stay away from sugar. My goodness, every time I order a drink, I got to tell them, nope, don't put any sugar in there. I don't like it sweet, but they still put it in there anyway. But in any case, yes, sugar at one time was not readily available. It just wasn't everywhere. I guess that's true of salt as well, but you don't really put salt in lollipops. And that kind of gives us a quick history lesson about lollipops here. But now we're actually going to talk about where the word comes from when our lesson continues in just a couple of seconds, but now we're going to take a break.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 我们今天呢，首先来看到在第一个空格的句子里面写着 Some, however, prefer blank one on lollipops to getting bits of chewy candy stuck in their teeth. 在这里讲到呢，每一个人的喜好不同，有些人喜欢呢吸吮棒棒糖，甚于呢让这个小块的软糖卡在牙齿里面。在这里要考同学文法的观念，我们常常说喜欢 A 胜于 B， 我们可以说 prefer A to B。 要注意的是 A 跟 B 的词性呢一定要相同，如果 A 是名词， B 当然也是名词。而回到句子当中，我们看到题目上 to 后面放的是 getting， 所以咯 prefer 在第一个空格的地方也应该放的是 VING 相同的词性，所以第一题的正确答案就选择 D sucking。接着来看到第二个空格的句子 The earliest versions of lollipops were invented when blank 2 humans thrust sticks into beehives and licked off the honey。这个棒棒糖呢是怎么来的？最早的棒棒糖的版本呢是由怎么样子的人将棍子刺进蜂窝里，然后呢舔掉上面蜂蜜的时候，这就是最早的棒棒糖版本咯。我们来看一下第二题不同的选项。 A 选项 suspicious 可疑的， B tolerant 容忍的， C faithful 忠实的， D. primitive 原始的。我们讲到最早的棒棒糖就是当时原始人用棒子戳到蜂窝里面舔食蜂蜜，所以搭配文意，第二题的标准答案我们选择 D. primitive。接着句子写着 In ancient times, the Chinese, Arabs, and Egyptians used honey to blank 3 fruits and nuts. 其实在以前的时候呢，不管是中国人、阿拉伯人跟埃及人，他们都会使用蜂蜜怎么样？水果跟坚果。第三题 A 选项 preserve保留保存， B. suspend 悬挂使终止， C. cultivate 培育涵养， D. guarantee保证。其实除了用盐可以呢来保存食物之外，以前也用糖跟蜂蜜来保存这些水果跟坚果，所以搭配文意，第三题的标准答案就选择 A. preserve。第四个空格的句子 It was not until sugar became readily available blank 4 more modern lollipops blank 4 to appear though。 在这里要考同学 It was not until 加上一个时间，然后再用 that 来加上剩下的子句，在中文里面解释成为直到怎么样才怎么样。所以首先确认的是第4个前面的句子的生字填的是 that 这个生字，直到呢这个糖变得非常容易取得，那么到现在才有比较多现代版本的棒棒糖开始出现。有没有注意到这一句是一个过去形式呢？所以时态要一致，使用过去式，所以第4题后面的字填的就是 began， 所以第4题的标准答案就是 A。We're
going to take a short break and then we'll be right back.
We shall now continue with our lesson, everybody. We're going to continue talking about candy, but more specifically, we are talking about lollipops, and we talked about the history of them. Cavemen put sticks in beehives and lick the sticks for the honey. And then we've got the Chinese, Arabs, and the Egyptians using it to preserve fruits and nuts. And then they would have these candied preparations. Now, let's move up now to the 17th century here, which would be the 1600s. Candy makers in 17th century Britain put softer sweets on sticks and called them lollipops. So these are softer sweets, the chewy kind, and they would be put on the end of sticks, and they called them lollipops. Hence, nowadays, we have the name. Although, before today's lesson, Stephanie, I must confess, I did not really know what lollipop means. Well, now we're all going to find out together. The name came from the dialect of northern England, where lolly meant tongue and pop meant slap, like getting slapped on the face or something like that. So this is from the dialect of northern England. If you've ever been to England, you know that they speak differently in different parts of the country. If you go way up north there, they have a dialect there. Maybe that's around Liverpool or Leeds or something like that.
Maybe,
I don't know. But at the time, they had a word there, which was lolly. And if you were down in London and somebody said lolly, you wouldn't know what that meant. But if you were in northern England, oh, lolly, yeah, tongue. Yeah, let me see your lolly. Let me see your tongue. And then pop meant slap. Okay, so hence lollipop means tongue. Your tongue slapping on the candy. Boy, does that sound fun.
But the lollipop that most of us are familiar with was actually invented by an American named George Smith. He was a manufacturer. If you're a manufacturer, that's the noun form for the verb manufacture. If you manufacture something, it means you have a lot of products that you produce at the same time. Usually you're in a factory with big machines if you're a manufacturer. And he went ahead and trademarked the name lollipop, kind of changed the spelling a bit and put two words together and dropped the Y and added the I, lollipop. And this was his own word that he felt like he had invented. So if you want to protect something that you invent, you put a trademark on it, which means no one else can use that word unless they pay you money. So he trademarked the name lollipop, and he named this lollipop after his favorite racehorse.
Interesting.
So his horse was named Lollipop too.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting coincidence there. Of course, as you know, racehorses have all these different kinds of nicknames for various races, and this particular horse, I guess, was called Lollipop. Hey, I like that horse. I'm going to call my new invention Lollipop, and the rest is history. Now, moving on now to the next paragraph here, it says, one of the most famous names in lollipops is Chupa Chups, a Spanish brand. Now, I've seen this in stores. Even here in Taiwan, I've seen it.
Really?
And I've never really known exactly how you're supposed to pronounce it. Maybe it's Chupa Chups or something like that. But because it's from Spain and because I know a little Spanish, the U is an oo sound. So Chupa Chups is how I'm going to say it.
You know what? Those might be what I've always bought, but I never looked at the brand name. Are they really small and they're in convenience stores?
Yeah, they are.
Then I've bought a lot of those, actually.
I don't know if people actually bother reading the name of the brand. It's on top and it's written kind of small.
Well, you can't see because the wrap paper is, round and it goes around itself.
It is a very small product, too, so it's kind of hard to see. Yeah.
No, I've been buying those for a long time. I didn't know they were from Spain. I thought they were made in Taiwan. I didn't know.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. The Spanish are good for something after all.
I bet it's chupa chups, as Tom said, because in the Spanish language, that U by itself would be oo, not like it is in English usually. Now, in Spain, chupar means to suck. So it makes sense that they would take that particular verb and turn it into a noun for their new candy. Now, it says since the company got off the ground in 1958, many famous names have been associated with the brand. If you get off the ground, guys, it means that's when you start being successful, you could say. For example, if you have a balloon and it gets off the ground, well, it's lifting into the air, you feel like it's a successful balloon. So to get off the ground is the phrase. This, of course, is in the past tense form, got off the ground. So they actually started doing business and were successful in 1958. And since then, many famous names have been associated with the brand name Chupa Chups.
Exactly. And get off the ground, you could also say to take off. That's a similar term. The company took off. It got off the ground way back in 1958.
Yeah.
And as you said, lots of names have been associated with the brand. In other words, if you think of this brand, you might think of a famous person. One such famous person was the artist Salvador Dali, who designed their brightly colored daisy-shaped logo. I think sometimes people say Dali. I say Dali. I think most people say Salvador Dali.
Americans say Dali.
What do you say, Salvador Dali or something?
No, I say Dali.
Okay, I think here they do say Dali, but in any case, he's that far-out artist from Spain who had that...
They say Dali here because they have tones.
Yeah, that might be exactly how you say it in Espanol, but I'm not 100% sure. But in any case, he had those far-out abstract paintings.
They're
like
great.
Soft construction with boiled beans. That's one of them. And he's had all sorts of ones as well.
Strange,
and he's the one actually who designed the daisy-shaped logo. A logo is like a symbol in which you use to identify a brand. You can think of all sorts of logos out there. This one is shaped like a daisy, which is like a little white flower with the middle part being yellow.
Yeah, they're really cute. They're one of my favorite flowers, the daisy. It's also the name of Mickey Mouse's girlfriend, Daisy.
That's right.
Yes, sirree. Now, Dolly also insisted on placing that logo at the top of the lollipop because, of course, he wanted people to see his beautiful artwork, and he knew that that would attract more attention to the lollipops. Now, if you insist on something, you use a very forceful or demanding tone of voice. You want something, and you're not going to accept anything less than what you ask for. I insist. So you're pretty strong when you insist on something. So, of course, he was pretty proud of his logo, and he wanted it to be at the top of the lollipop so that everyone would see his beautiful artwork.
It makes sense because when you buy them, you are looking down on top of them. They're kind of stacked in a box that has holes, right? So that's how you pull it out. So it makes perfect sense there. So that's one famous person who was associated with this brand. Another was Madonna. She gave a concert here in Taipei a couple of months ago. She has advertised the lollipops. If you advertise something, you put out some information so that people will know about a product or service and that they will buy that product or service.
Oh, I've never seen the advertisements she does. That's interesting. So she's advertised the lollipops. I bet she doesn't eat them because she's very healthy. Yeah, Chupa Chups. They're fun. Well, they've always promoted anti or anti-smoking. You can pronounce that word both ways. Anti, anti, they're both correct. So pick the one you like. or that you hear your friends say and stick with that. If you promote something, you encourage it. And so they're trying to say, hey, smoking's not so great for you. Instead of smoking, why don't you just buy one of our Chupa Chups and start sucking instead of smoking? In fact, it says that was their current slogan. Stop smoking, start sucking. A slogan is just some words that a company comes up with to help, people remember their product. For me, one of the most famous slogans of all time was Nike Shoe Company. They came up with just do it. No complaints, just get out there and go exercise. Well, there's, right now at least, it's current, which means they might change their slogan in the future. But right now it's stop smoking, start sucking. They smoke quite a bit in Spain, I know.
Not so much as they do in France, but in any case, yes, that's the logo, so hopefully they can stop people from smoking. And so long as lollipops continue to catch the eye and delight the tongue, they'll certainly remain many people's favorite candies. Yes, indeed, they will delight the tongue. Delight can be both a noun and a verb. We're using it as a verb here. To delight someone means to make them feel very happy and very excited.
Right now, guys, somebody who will, of course, get you excited about learning more English is our Chinese teacher.
接着我们要来看到第5个空格 The name came from the dialect of Northern England. Blank 5, lolly meant tongue and pop meant slap. 这个 lollipops 到底是怎么来呢？其实是来自于北英格兰的方言，在那里呢 lolly 指的是舌头，而 pop 则是有拍打声的意思。在这里我们第5个前面打上逗号，我们可以选择 B 选项的 where， 因为这里指的是在北英格兰这个地方，那么 lolly 跟 pop 有它特别的用意，所以才有了 lollipops 这样子用来指棒棒糖，所以第5题搭配北英格兰这个地方，我们选择代表地方副词的连接词，选 B 选项的 where。接着来看第6个空格，这里介绍一个糖果公司叫做 Chupa Chups。Since the company got off the ground in 1958, many famous names have been blank 6, the brand. 自从呢这个公司在1958年开始顺利进展之后，许多著名的人都开始跟这个品牌怎么样了呢？第6题 A. Forbidden from 禁止 B. Indulged in 沉溺于 C. Associated with 与什么联想在一起 D. Devoted to致力于这个公司发展得很好，所以名人的名字也就跟他联想在一起了。第6题标准答案就选择 C associated with。 那么在这里就要提到 Madonna 这个名人咯。第7个空格 Another was Madonna, who advertised the lollipops Chupa Chups has always promoted anti-smoking, with its current blank 7 being stop smoking, start sucking. 在这里呢，马丹娜也帮他拍摄广告，因为这家公司一直以来都提倡的是禁烟。那么呢，他呢最常听到的标语就是不要再抽烟了，开始吸吮棒棒糖吧。第7题 A 选项 license 执照 B slogan 口号标语 C motive动机 D procedure 程序搭配文意。第7题广告当然需要的是非常容易记住的标语，所以第7题的标准答案就选择 B slogan。以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That's all for today, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and please don't eat too many lollipops. They are, after all, kind of fattening, but they are oh so tasty. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.